What I wish more clothing brand startups were willing to do is take a step back from their brand and completely change it. Completely change up their brand, change the foundation, change the brand concept, change their designs, change basically every single thing about their brand. And I know that that sounds ridiculous, but so many brands start up with this delusional idea of how their brand's gonna go, and they just sink their teeth into it and they can never unhook those teeth. And they just run their brand like that for 3-4 years and it never gets anywhere. It never has any traction because they're trying to market a brand that simply nobody wants. And you can try all of the marketing strategies in the world and never get anywhere if your foundation is off and if you don't have a great brand concept. If your clothing brand is struggling, you're better off taking 2 or 3 months off to completely rework everything and change everything up and relaunch in 2 or 3 months than you are to keep running the same brand for 3 or 4 years, spinning your wheels on a brand that just doesn't have any legs. It's never gonna go the distance. It's never gonna do anything in the first place. And so I wanna talk to you about this. I wanna talk to you about what this looks like in practical terms to actually dive into this and do this for your brand. And I hope you enjoy. Apparel Success is sponsored by my buds over at Design Crowd. If you struggle with designs, I really recommend that you try them out. You post a project on Design Crowd, amazing designers from all around the world are going to compete for your project. You choose the winner, then you get that design plus revisions. I've literally sold thousands of these designs on my website, and I got them all made through Design Crowd. If you're interested, head over to designcrowd.com/apparel to learn about the special offer that I have for you, or just use the discount code apparel when you post a project on Design Crowd. All right, I want to start this video out by sharing with you a YouTube comment that somebody posted on this channel a couple days ago that I think summarized this absolutely perfect. So Stud Sidious 7793 writes this: but you know, if the brand foundation and design suck, all the marketing tactics in the world won't help some people. It sounds harsh to tell people their brand foundation and design suck, but that's unfortunately 90% of the reason people fail. I know you understand. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I wish people would listen to you and work on a solid brand voice and foundation before they waste their time promoting nonsense. Without a solid brand foundation aimed at a specific demographic, all the marketing tactics in the world are pointless. It's unfortunate that some people take that as an ego hit about their brand instead of just fixing the foundation. You need a strong foundation. Love your vids, man. All right, so I really don't believe that telling people that their brands suck is a good way to go about it. I don't think that that's offering constructive criticism, but I really do believe that the main point that he's making in this comment is absolutely true. There are so many brands that start up that just don't understand this concept, that they have a clothing brand that they're just focused on marketing and getting the word out there for, and they're completely oblivious to the idea that they may be marketing something that people just simply don't want. And the solution to that isn't to dive more into marketing and to try and get your brand out there more and to try and get more brand awareness. The solution to this is to take a step back and to create a brand that people genuinely want. And honestly, I'm not trying to lecture you here on this. I hate that. I just want to share with you some practical info on how you can actually do this for your brand. So let's say you've been doing your brand for about a year and you've only had like a dozen orders roll in and it was all just friends and family and people that you know. And you've gotten your brand out there a little bit on social media, but nobody's really buying from you. Well, this is an indicator that, hey, maybe it's not the marketing tactics and the way that you're getting your brand out there. Maybe it's the brand itself, what you created, that needs a little bit of work. It needs a little bit of adjustment. Well, what you can do is you can take some time off from marketing your brand, maybe a month or 2 months, and you can start reworking the whole foundation. Maybe you put all of your current inventory and all of the designs that you invested some money in at 60-70% off. You get rid of it and you try some new clothing, you try some new designs. Or maybe you realize that your brand concept just really isn't clicking with people. People aren't vibing with it. They're not really understanding it as much as you want them to. Well, take some time to go into that and flush out what your brand is all about. Maybe you need to change the name of your brand. Maybe you need to change what your brand represents and your tagline and switch that up. Maybe you need to go on your website, completely redesign your website because your website is throwing people off and people aren't having a good experience of your website. I honestly believe that if you really ask yourself the question, how can I improve my brand? Where are the weaknesses in my brand? You'll almost always find the answer to it. I think that question though is just something that so many clothing brand owners are afraid to ask themselves. Like if you really ask yourself, how can I improve my brand? What's an area that like, if I just spent a full week on it, I know that I could improve it like crazy. Maybe it's your designs, your website, your brand concept, whatever it is, you'll likely come up with an answer to it. And then you just need to invest the time to do that. And I know the follow-up question here is, I've already launched my brand. What about the people who have bought from me before? Isn't it gonna mess with their perception of my brand? What about what people think about my brand and how I'm actually changing it all up now? And doesn't that just screw with the whole identity of your brand? Well, I'm talking specifically to people who are really struggling and don't really have many sales to begin with. Believe me, your clothing brand isn't on everybody's radar. It's not like they're sitting around worrying about all these little changes that you're making to your brand. You're good to do whatever it is that you want with your brand without affecting a whole lot of people, especially if you don't have very many sales rolling in. And if maybe your brand has done like 500 orders or 1,000 orders and you've got a little bit of traction, but you're just not at the point that you want to get it to, well, maybe that's an indicator that you don't have to make drastic changes with your brand and to your foundation, but you can make subtle changes that will still sort of keep all of those repeat customers and people excited about your brand, but you make changes to improve it into the future to get more sales for your brand. But the huge point in this video is that it is true that so many brands are trying to market something that doesn't have any substance, doesn't have any legs, doesn't even really have a chance at any success because they're trying to market something that people don't want in the first place. And I can't imagine like a worse place to be in with your clothing brand because you're trying to market something, you're focusing on the wrong problem. That's not the problem. Marketing isn't the problem for most people. The problem for most people and most people's brands is that their brand itself doesn't have the substance that it needs to get the results that you're ultimately aiming at. And I'm honestly speaking from experience here. In the first 6 months running my brand, it was absolute hell. We struggled to get any sales for our brand. The way that we were connecting with our audience wasn't very good. It was kind of confusing. People couldn't really sink their teeth into our brand. The logo wasn't very good. The website wasn't very good. And so literally after about 6 months, I took a step back. I really improved the website. I completely changed the brand concept and the tagline for our brand. I changed up the logo big time from this old emblem logo that we had to a brand new logo that was way better and just looked way sicker and I knew would connect with our audience better. And of course, when we did that and we launched our new hoodies with this new logo and this new tagline and this whole thing, it made a huge difference when it came to actually marketing our brand on social media. When we put out all of our new designs, when we put out our new tagline and we marketed our brand around that, it created way better results for us. And these new results that we were getting were a direct consequence of all of these big drastic changes that we made for our brand. And I just think that so few clothing brands do this. What I believe that most clothing brand owners need to do is be a bit more humble and open. There are so many clothing brands you see on social media just pushing their brand out there, like just trying to get their brand out there, trying to force it down people's throats. And they need to ask themselves instead the very difficult question, an honest question, which is, am I trying to market a clothing brand that people just simply don't want? I mean, ask yourself, how many clothing brands have you seen online in your feed where you go, that brand is just the way that it is, it's so obvious that people aren't really ever going to want that. They're never ever really going to want to buy it. And you just see these brand owners pushing it, where what they should be doing instead is taking a step back and going into the little nitty-gritty details and ironing these things out. And I understand that this is very hard to do. I have to challenge myself to do this with my own projects, my own clothing brand all the time. I understand that it's very difficult and it's challenging to do that. But one thing that I hope that you get out of this is sort of permission to do that and to make the big changes to your brand, because I think that a lot of clothing brands just simply don't know that it's okay to make those changes. Like, it's okay to switch around your brand concept, to change up your designs, to sell off all of your current inventory and then come out with a brand new design style and new clothing style that you think might perform a lot better and connect with your audience a lot better. It's okay. And in fact, that's exactly what you should be doing and what you need to be doing in order to get the results that you're looking for.